I just didn't want to go through those cycles again. I noticed my behavior, the same behavior happening, and I wanted to be different. I wanted to be different for me.
You first have to get you back. And again, to get you back, that's conditioning. When you get you back first, and you're now at this level, people want to line up with you. Think about it. A lot of you are dealing with breakups, and you're kind of in a rut, you're in a fog. No one wants to be around you. And the decision to be in a relationship is an emotional decision. It's not logical. You can't take a PowerPoint presentation and say, oh, you're going to want to be around me because of A, B, and C. It doesn't work like that. People either want to be around you or they don't, based on how they feel when they're around you. So if you have a relationship that's not going so well, you can have all the concepts in the world, but if you're not enjoyable to be around, good luck with that. That's not going to work out very well. You can have all the best qualities in the world, but if someone doesn't enjoy their experience with you, that's not going to work out too well. But to get yourself back there, you can't concept your way there. That's a conditioning. That's your ability to control the way you feel, okay? Go to refocusonhappiness.com. What you want to do is you want to click the button at the top, contact Lance. Very, very easy form. When you go there, you'll see you put your name, your last name, your email address, and your phone number. And I will get in touch with you in just a few days, okay? Just be a little patient. I got a lot of people I work with, but I'll get in touch with you in 72 hours maximum. But after you do that contact Lance link, feel free to scroll around here. Again, Steve Martin has a great phrase. He says, be so good at what you do, people cannot ignore you. If you scroll down, you'll see testimonials from psychologists, doctors, zillions and zillions and zillions of past clients, including medical directors, et cetera, et cetera. So like I said, I'm making this so obvious for you, what I represent for you, what I believe. The only reason you would not do this is if you're a glutton for punishment. So yeah, feel free to take a good look around. Again, I'm gonna make it very clear what I represent for you if this is something you're serious about, okay? Awesome. Look forward to speaking to you soon.
I just didn't want to go through those cycles again. I noticed my behavior, the same behavior happening, and I wanted to be different. I wanted to be different for me. And, I've tried other things and they didn't work, whether it was that I wasn't committed enough or I wasn't ready. I wasn't to that tipping point, if you will, or it just was, the right place, right time where I came across you and had the conversation and everything. I just knew that I wanted to do something to change the way I was handling, I guess, whether it's my behavior or myself.
I'm so glad I asked that. Now that's super helpful. I'll tell you why. Because, the last guy I was just speaking to, just a few minutes ago before you and I came on the call, he was such a classic example. It's like, yeah, I've been going to therapy and my therapist just says I'm that kind of person and there's nothing I can do about it. What he said for himself, he said he's the kind of guy that's always trying to save people. He's a savior. He has labeled himself as a savior. And even his therapist is saying, that's just who you are. It's your personality. Yeah. You can't do anything about it. And I'm so glad you brought this up because that's basically what you were kind of working through, this personality, trying to recreate it. So I said to the guy, I said, dude, you and your therapist really need to be welcome to the year 2019. The training that I do for people, I didn't create it out of thin air. Like I've worked in person with people for years. Tony Robbins, Dr. Joe Dispenza, top relationship coaches, all in person. And so I basically compiled the best of the best into one practice that can get you that final outcome. And that's why I told him, like, you will become your own practical psychologist, your own relationship coach, where for the rest of your life, you'll be good either way. Will you have challenges? Sure. I'm not saying things are perfect, but you have the ability to move forward. So anyway, my point is with this guy, he's like, oh, my therapist says I have this kind of personality and I am the way I am. And I like to save people. So I'm a savior. And the therapist is basically keeping him in emotional prison by reaffirming that, there's nothing you can do about that. And I'm like, dude, even Dr. Joe Dispenza has a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Neuroplasticity is a scientific fact. It's not a theory. Brain cells together, wire together. Like this is not a theory here, and it absolutely is yours for the taking. So anyone out there listening to this, if you really believe that because you've been a helper your whole life, or a savior your whole life, or you're just kind of person, what's that?
Or an empath, or whatever you want to.
Yeah, empath, or like one thing you also told me too. You always like to take care of people, and I'm just someone who likes to help people, and be this good person and like with your friends. I'm always that person who's available at 2:00 in the morning. Call me anytime. Like, all these things that that a lot of people say, oh, that's just who I am. That's just my personality. I'm like, dude, that is not your personality. That is simply habit. That is simply atrophied emotional muscles. You can absolutely rewire yourself for a different personality. New personality, new fucking personal reality, except Dr. Joe doesn't curse. That's the only but that's the truth. I'm like, and it's so, I mean, when I hear something like that from this guy, I almost get like fired up inside. I'm like, dude, I can't believe this therapist is keeping you in emotional prison, telling you something, like he's basically telling you you're eating poison.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're going to feel sick. So it's like, but that's not true. And what's awesome is for anyone listening to this, you came in with a very similar thing. Like, I've always been this person who always likes to help people. I'm an empath. I'm always the kind of person that, like, at 2:00 in the morning, I'm going to be available for my friends. And I just keep having these same situations. Like, dude, that does not have to be your reality. I will show you how to take what is a concept and make it real, where you're living it, embodying it. That is who you are. And when you create that new personality, that's when you create a new personal reality. To anyone listening here, you can't solve a problem with the emotions that create it. You can't solve a problem with the emotions that created it. You need a different energy there. And that energy comes from within. If you are wired a different way, you're living in new emotions. You are literally biologically changing your DNA. And when you do that and you're living in different emotional states, you create a new world for yourself. But you are not, nobody is imprisoned to I'm this kind of person, and I guess that's how it has to be. So I'm really glad you and I talked about there. So anyone listening here, if you believe you're a type A personality, or you're the kind of person who likes to help people, or you're an empath, and that's your story, you do not have to be that way. You might not know how to change it, but as Jennifer can attest to, I can show you how to do it. So you're not imprisoned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so just kind of like that tipping point, I guess, also, like, I felt like even anxiety and depression for me, I didn't want that to be my excuse. Oh, I suffer from anxiety and depression. I just didn't want that's not okay to just say that and expect people to just be okay with that. There has to be techniques that work. And that's, when you and I talked, that I knew that I could get somewhere.
I'm going to hit on that one too. If anyone listening to this, and I'm sorry, this might annoy certain people, especially if you're a therapist or counselor. If you've been told that you're this way because you're, quote, depressed, right? I have to be very careful about how I say this. I'm going to say this the way that I think no one could argue with. If you met somebody and they had, like take Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, 6'2", whatever, back in his prime. And you took someone who's like 5'1", and maybe even has like some ailments in their body, like physical ailments, right? They still have human muscles. Even if they have limitations, if you have them work out, their muscles are going to develop. They're still going to be stronger than they were, regardless of their handicap. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you had, quote unquote, some kind of chemical imbalance or some issue, let's just say, because it was, and by the way, I'm not going to go to, let's just say it was diagnosed. You still have a human brain. Your human brain, if you give it certain stimulus, is going to respond a certain way. I'm sorry. Still be a more powerful version of your, quote, depressed self. You can still do massive things for yourself. So just because you have some challenges doesn't mean that you've been brought to your full potential. Everyone listening to this, you have a choice. No matter what your challenges are, you have not been shown how to reach your greatest potential. Even if you have challenges, there is a lot further you can go. As long as you have a human brain, I can train it. If you have a human brain, I can train it. I can get you to another level. Okay? That's the bottom line. If you don't have a human brain, don't sign up with me. Okay, good. But what were some of those things you tried that did not get you the final outcome? Maybe they helped a little bit, but what things did you try before we worked together?
I have gone to different counselors. And like I said, they help to an extent. I guess you just, I don't know, I get to a point where, some you just don't connect with, and you go through so many sessions and you're just kind of like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. And then others, I just feel like, since you're not repeating, you're not really given anything to work with. It might be like, oh, read this paper and this kind of describes your behavior. And, it wasn't something that you can actually do to make a change and feel differently. And honestly, I think, one of the things that was most helpful, even with you, was just like the communication daily, whether it was me just checking in, you checking in on me, that sort of thing. It was that holding me accountable. If I make a counseling appointment one week and I might be sad that day, and 2 weeks later I have another appointment and I'm fine. And it was not like a consistent therapy that worked for me. And I mean, it's just like books. I could read a gazillion books and they could make me feel good for a little bit, but I just wasn't doing anything consistently. The only thing, like I said, I am Christian and read the Bible. And so, it's like my go-to, but, just the therapy, the seeing counselors. I've done church groups and they're great. I'm not a big fan of kind of rehashing the problem over and over again. Mm-hmm. And one of the really cool things that I also think was very effective with you is, I mean, whether you have a great memory or you took really good notes or whatever, you always remembered like our conversation or the stories that, we talked about. And so it wasn't like a meeting 4 weeks later to where I kind of had to retell the whole story or retell the events that got me to where I was. Mm-hmm. And so I don't feel those sort of things were effective for me.
It's like the therapists and counselors, they don't know how to do it. They don't actually focus on the core. So it isn't even if they do talk to you. And by the way, there are some that have tricks up their sleeve. I'm just saying the vast majority. I have to be real careful on that. I'm sure there's some therapists and counselors. I don't know them personally, but I'm sure there's some therapists and counselors out there that have some things that are a little bit more alternative, just like alternative medicine. But the vast majority can't actually tell you how to do it. They just talk concepts. So it's like even you talk to them a lot, it's like, how do I do it? They'll tell you, oh, you just need to detach. Great. How do I do it? How do I detach?
Yeah.
That's the big difference. Like, I don't want to hear any more about detaching. Just, do you have a process? Help me. It's funny too. Like when I work with people, and you got this too. Like, whenever I start working with somebody, right, I send my working agreement. My working agreement, for example, says, I don't respond for 48 to 72 hours via email or text, but I respond every day. But I have to manage expectations. People don't know how fired up I get about this. I love what I do.
You were great at getting back to me.
Yeah, what's that?
I said you were great at getting back to me. You actually got on my case. I didn't.
I always got to you that day, regardless of what our working agreement said. But yeah, that's part of it too, because people have to know. That's why you need to have the right person who can get to that outcome. And by the way, anyone listening here, if you were ever considering any kind of coach, advisor, counselor, whatever, you should always ask them this question: how long till I get my outcome? How long? A week, a month, a year? Very few will actually commit to a time frame. If they can't do it, they're worth nothing.
Yeah.
They're worth nothing, because if they really knew they could do it, really believed it, why would they not commit? I commit 6 weeks. 6 weeks, you have your outcome, and it grows with you for life, and that's it. Everybody gets that in the end. But if the person can't commit to that, that's a very big problem. But yeah, so to last little time here with what you said, the support I give, it's very important, because the first 2 weeks is hard. I always tell people, like, dude, your body's recalibrating, your body, your mind, everything's recalibrating, and you're just gonna have to suck it up a little bit and just keep the outcome in mind. And I have to support people a little harder in the beginning, because the beginning is the most crucial time. It's like a rocket ship, right? The most fuel is on the takeoff. So we have to really make sure that goes good. Once a person gets going, then I can kind of ease back a little bit and start to let them take over to some degree, at least as far as, I don't have to hold their hand quite as much. But in the beginning, it's like, dude, these people are going to the unknown, just like I did. I needed the right people to support me, and I give the same support that I got myself. So I'm just doing the same thing that other people did for me.
Yeah, and you can't do it for anybody, I mean, you have to put in the work if you want to see the results.
How long would you say it took you, Jennifer, before you actually said, you know what, this is clearly doing something? How long would you say it took? And I'd rather you be critical,
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, I had a little bit of a challenge with a week away, even though I still did everything I was required to do. But I mean, I would say about week 3 is when I started just like I don't want to say feeling good, because I mean, I figured out through the processes and everything how to feel good and everything. But I think right around 3-ish, maybe 3.5, I just kind of started to get it. And I don't know if that may be because we had a couple conversations and things were just starting to, in our weekly talks and everything, things were starting to kind of get a little bit more personal and kind of addressing real issues. So, in the beginning, I was kind of still feeling things out, a little bit skeptical, still trying to, figure out what's going on here. There's a lot of changes. Is this really going to work, and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think, I don't know, right around 3.5 is when I just started appreciating more, feeling good, and really starting to feel that just gratitude for everything. The little things we would talk about, just feeling happy and thankful for them.
Awesome. I think in some ways, I think in some ways, just being honest with you, I think in some ways you had that one kind of okay to some degree. I think you were just like maybe a little disappointed with the previous relationship and just kind of a little bit of a, just lost to some degree. And the biggest changes I noticed from you, 2 basically. 1, your confidence level went up tremendously. Particularly in your work, you're a professional. You weren't the same person anymore. Like, I mean, even as I'm speaking to you now, you sound nothing like the person I spoke to the very first week. There's something that you definitely evolved and changed in the way you present yourself, the way you sound, in any kind of context where it's professional or, just the way you present yourself with people in general. There's no question on that one. And I know you've even seen that one. That's the biggest change I noticed in you. While you were working with me, you didn't really delve into dating yet or anything like that. So that one I can't definitively say or not say. But the one thing I know you believe, I know you know this as well as I do. You tell me here and again, tell me otherwise. But I believe that that you really do know that no matter what, you haven't seen it yet because you haven't had the chance to challenge yourself. But I know deep inside, there's no way that anyone would ever be able to get over things on you in the future for any more than like a couple dates or so. Maybe I don't teach you how to be a psychic. Like I can't do that one. Yeah. But I can teach you how to be so rock solid with yourself and by the way, you're not, tell for anyone here, it's not like you're controlling, trying to manipulate or control. You're just good. But I know that if you saw some of the things you saw in the past, it just would not fly. And you'd be like, it's cool. You can be who you are, but I'm not going to go. We can just be friends.
Yep.
And I think that deep inside that if in the future, if you came across another thing like that, you would never go about that again. It would be impossible for you to unlearn what you've learned.
This is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I bring to the table. This is what I have to offer. And I expect the same in return as far as, any of the attributes that I look for in a guy, a friend, anything, I mean, I don't even want to be treated shitty by friends. So there is a line that I draw, and
in the sand.
Line in the sand.
So here's a differentiator for most people here, because a lot of people say that's what they want to do, or I'm going to do that in the future. Would you not agree? Then the difference is now you could almost do it on autopilot. You know how to do it, where it's like you don't have to be concerned with how you're going to do it, or the concepts. You actually know you can embody that. Where it's almost like a mechanism, like almost like you've wired in that software in your brain, where you don't have to think about it. It's not like this, just stressful task. You know exactly how to handle it when those things come.
That's 100% true. And that comes, from the confidence and the self-confidence that I've built throughout the process, because, you alluded to it, and even just from knowing me from this time, saw my confidence grow. And, it just, that lends itself to me not taking less than anything, there's my line. Don't cross it.
There you go. With love, though. With love.
Yes. with love.
That's important differentiator, by the way. Anyone listening here, everything you teach is rooted in love. It's not, you're not trying to, it's not like me versus them. It's just, you're just much more, you have it wired where you're not thinking it. You're actually just more accepting. You're just more like, just accepting of people. So the three biggest changes I noticed on you, because it wasn't like you really delved into dating so much while you and I were working together, was one, your overall confidence went sky high. You might not have fully acknowledged in the beginning, but your confidence, the way you show up on the phone, with the stories you're telling me at work, you sound completely different. No doubt on that one. Two, again, you didn't get to test it yet, but I know what we just talked about, that in the future, dating is going to be, you might be a little kind of like, well, we'll see what happens, but I know like we just talked about, the things that happened in the past would never happen again. That'd be impossible. At least one day, okay, maybe two, but further than that, it would never stretch on for months, or that could never happen again. It's impossible as long as you do the practice. And by the way, on that note, for anyone listening here, are you still doing it 30 minutes a day? Still doing
Every
it?
Day.
Every day.
I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it.
Right. Lifetime commitment, right?
That is it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Anyone listening here, this is something you got to be just because it's not a one and done. You have to keep maintaining that. And so the third thing I noticed, the other third thing I definitely noticed from you was, I think you were already a pretty optimistic person. I think you were just kind of like a little kind of beaten down a little bit to some degree.
A little deflated.
What's that?
A little deflated.
A little defeated, yeah. But I think it was really cool is I think, the one thing I did notice for sure was the emotional resiliency, where towards the end, it was like a non-issue. You weren't thinking about it anymore. And that's what's really cool, because for a lot of people, they don't know how to stop that hamster wheel. And you did. Like everyone I work with, that happens for them, where eventually it's just a blip, and you're like, it's cool. And I appreciate that. And I'm glad it happened, because they were the catalyst for me to do something that's been a long time coming. But as far as me thinking about them, it's just like, it's a blip. It's not a big deal anymore. And I think those are the three things to notice from you particularly.
Yeah. And that is so true. And just even kind of that turning point, I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I didn't want to feel those emotions in that hamster wheel over and over and over, every day of that, whether it was sadness, anxiety, depression, all of that stuff. I didn't want to feel that way. And I knew I had control over it. I just didn't know how. I needed to learn how to handle it, and practice every day.
Awesome. We went from thinking to feeling to being. Now we're being. Awesome.
And being every day.
So how do you feel about your future now? Like, now that you think about what's coming up in the future, how do you feel about it? What do you feel?
I feel hopeful, finally. I know I didn't at the beginning, but hopeful. It's exciting. It's not like I don't need anything or anyone in particular to make me happy, make me grateful, make me thankful. And I'm excited. I'm excited to grow and, continue to learn every day. Because for me, like you said, it's not one and done. It's a culmination of working hard every day. And just because, we talk about 6 weeks doesn't mean it just stops there. So the sky's the limit for me, with work, with relationships, with anything. It's can only go up, and I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah. I was like telling people, like, it's like you proved to yourself in the 6 weeks that you're in control. You proved it to yourself. And if you did it during the hardest part, you have no reason to doubt that you're going to be able to get yourself to other levels, because you proved it when it was hard. Like, I just met someone who graduated me about a week ago, and she actually did the program with me while the divorce is in full swing. So she actually got finalized, like, I think in week 2. Right. Yeah. Like, it was, by the way, that doesn't mean that it's over. Right. I have many people that, like, you think it's over and then the ex comes back. Happens quite a bit, actually. I had a guy that I was working with, and I thought she was so having issues that she was done, and they're doing a vacation together. It took like about 2 months after she graduated. So I had people like that. I always tell people, like, your story is still being written, so you don't know. Like, but my point is, like, with that previous client, her divorce was in full swing. It became finalized like in week 2. And when I said to her, I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, hey, you did this when you had no emotional muscle or very little, and you did it in the midst of complete chaos. You got kids, you got, you have someone you're married to for all these years, and you still did it. You have no reason to doubt that you're not going to be able to fucking kill it with anything ongoing. Now it's like, well, how far can I take it? And that's really cool, because if you prove yourself you can do it while things are challenging and you're developing this skill, you have no reason to doubt yourself for the future. Why would the sky not be the limit?
So true.
I think it's important, because I think it's kind of a funny question in a way. So who do you think this program is designed for? Who do you think the benefit from this program?
I mean, I think it's more of why would anybody not want to? And I'm not just saying that, like, you're really not. I mean, I feel like it's that person stuck in the hamster wheel, just trying everything and not getting the help they need. And I think, like, even for me, not knowing this program was out there, I think everybody should know that this is available to them. I mean, seriously, a phone call or a social media click away sort of thing. So, I mean, why not? Who would not want to better themselves? I mean, you can use it in every aspect of your life, not, whether it's personal relationships, work relationships, just personal self-confidence. Who would not want that? And I mean, even the most confident person, I don't know, they make pencils with an eraser for a reason. People make mistakes, and nobody's perfect. And I just feel like, for me, the challenge of getting better and growing each day, that's for me, and now I know ways, even after the 6 weeks, I know ways to better myself each and every day, build on and be better than I was the day before. So I don't know why people would not want to take advantage of that, or they can stay stagnant. I mean, hey, not everybody wants to grow. But
some people like their drama. Some people, I mean, emotions are addictive. Like, a lot of people don't realize that. Like, it's literally a drug, so that's why people get really stuck in their cycles. It's no different than, food, coffee, drugs, whatever. Your body literally becomes addicted to those cycles. And a lot of people love the drama. I was like to say, drama is that one thing that people hate but secretly love.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, so. And then the reason I always like that question, I think it's kind of amusing, is because it's like, why wouldn't anyone want to take control of the two most valuable resources, energy and emotional states? You got that, you're doing fucking great. So like, it's kind of, everyone should benefit, especially if that person can't seem to take the concepts and make them practical when it comes down to getting unstuck.
You've talked to people going through breakups. How many of them tell you, oh, it was his fault, or it was her fault, or whatever?
They're so stuck in the story. It was their fault. And then I say that, like, well, hold on. If they really kept doing all these bad things for 5 years, do you think there's something missing that kept you allowing it? Yeah. Why do you keep allowing it? Or why did you, I always tell people this too. I go, let me tell you a little secret in life. Happy people don't argue. If you're really happy, then that other person wouldn't even bother you. You just won the lottery. You don't really give a shit. So it's like, if they're poking you and you're feeding into that, then clearly there's something does take two to tango. So it's like, but if you're allowing that kind of stuff, there is some negative wiring in there that is allowing you to just keep accepting that. It's no different than the whole, it's my personality. I'm the kind of person that doesn't fight people. I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to argue. I'm the kind of person that just likes to be the peacekeeper. This is all nonsense. Yeah. That you don't have to stay that way. But again, to go from concept to practicality is not something you can just conceptualize and just, okay, now I'm this kind of person. It doesn't work like that.
No.
But anyone who's like, oh, it's their fault. No, it's your fault. Like, you're either allowing it, you're feeding into it, and if you're really reacting to it, then clearly you have your own challenges. You're just a participant. It's like, Yeah, so it's like, but those are all stories people tell each other. The real
Yeah.
story, the story that everyone should subscribe to is, I am simply the product of how I've wired myself to be. And if I'm not able to show up each day as the version of myself that I know I should be, that I deserve to be, that I expect myself, well, there's something I'm missing here. That's just the
Yep.
bottom line. But nobody is destined to be a certain personality type or story for their entire life. You can absolutely, redesign it. So yeah, I hear that stuff all the time, and
Oh,
it's
I bet.
unfortunate. But here's the cool thing. Here's the fortunate part. For all those people that are stuck in their story, or it's my personality, here's the cool thing for them. There's one teacher that is an excellent teacher, and everyone will eventually get this teacher's lesson. There's a reason why most people I work with, I'd say the average person I work with is in their 50s or 60s. Why is that? Because Mr. Payne is a fucking incredible teacher, and will eventually get you to realize, like, this sucks. This needs to be changed. And those are my favorite people
Yeah.
because, when I work with them, they're like, they're so primed and ready for it. But yeah, it's there's a lot available, but you're never the prisoner of your emotional, your stories from the past, or your partner who's arguing with you. You're always in charge, one way or the other. You're always in charge, and if you can't do it, that's because you're trying to conceptualize it and you don't have that practical application. So
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, I told you right from day one. I mean, I can't change anybody else. I can only work on me. I want to get better for me. I don't want to get better for anybody else. I mean, they'll receive the benefits of it in the future, but I want to get better for me, and I did. So
awesome. Yeah, you absolutely did, and you're still a work in progress. You always will be. I will always be. We always are students for life, because students are allowed to make mistakes. But mistakes in our world is not really a mistake. We either win or we learn. So
yeah,
no matter what, it's still good. But looking like that takes the pressure off, and it allows you to just keep pushing forward and enjoy these new levels. So last thing I'll say for anyone listening here, if you enjoyed today's conversation and you are inspired to take real action, just remember this: time is not your friend. A sense of urgency is. Stop fucking around. Okay, so that's it. Awesome, great conversation.
sure.